Hello, this is Ted Phillips, Solution Architect with Advantech. This video is going to be a continuation of our IoT video series following up on Mike Ferrion's video on virtualization. Today we're going to be talking about building a simple cloud environment platform with Docker, and we are going to build that on a small Advantech industrial computer using Linux. We're going to install Docker Community Edition, and we're going to install Docker Compose. We're going to be installing this right now on a Uno 2271G, which is a small pocket-sized industrial computer with protected power supply, wide temperature range, vibration resistance. It's a really good small industrial computer. We're going to download our image from Ubuntu.com. We're going to use a desktop image for this particular video just so that we can bring up a web browser and copy scripts from the web in order to set up the programs that we're going to use. We're going to use a utility called Rufus to build our installation environment because our industrial computer doesn't have any disk drives or ability to put in files other than through USB. So we're going to use the Rufus utility to build a Linux-based installation environment. So we go to www.rufus.ie and download their latest Rufus 3.10 environment. We're going to install Rufus on our computer, and we're going to insert a flash drive of at least 8 gigabytes into the computer. This flash drive is going to have everything on it deleted when it builds our installation environment. So be sure you use a drive that will be okay to delete anything on it that happens to be there. Once we run the Rufus program, we're going to want to select the image that we downloaded from Ubuntu, and then we're going to press the start button. If it asks to download additional files, then we're going to say OK. We're going to click OK to format the drive as a .iso image. We're going to verify the correct devices listed at the top. Click OK to start. The program is going to format the image and burn it to the USB stick and then release the USB stick so that it can be removed. At that point, we're going to install this image on our Uno computer. So you're going to need to connect a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse, network cable to the Uno. You'll need a powered USB hub with at least 3 ports if you use this particular Uno, because it only has one USB port. If it has more USB ports on the computer you're using, you should be able to go without the hub. Now we're going to insert the prepared USB drive into the hub, and we're going to connect power to the Uno. Press the power button on the Uno to turn it on, and at this point it should boot to the USB drive and start downloading the image onto the drive. At some point it's going to ask you if you want to just run it off the USB stick or you want to install it onto the computer. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to click Install Ubuntu, and it's going to ask us a few other questions. Are we speaking English? It's going to ask us in a little bit about the keyboard. So some of these take a while, so I may end up fast forwarding through the video a little bit to speed things up. So now it's asking us what kind of keyboard layout. We're using an English keyboard with an English layout, so we're going to leave that fine. Going to click Continue. Now it's going to ask us about updates. We do want to download updates, so we want to make sure that updates are checked. We're only going to need a minimal installation because the only thing that we're going to use on this particular Linux installation is the browser. We're going to install everything else ourselves. So we're going to click minimal installation and download updates. The updates will be downloaded from the internet, so that's why you need to have the network connection on this box whenever you do the installation. Now we'll click Continue. Now it's going to look and see what's already on the device, and what we want to do is erase disk and install Ubuntu, unless you have something else on there that you need to keep. We recommend a clean install, so erase disk and install Ubuntu is the solution that we're looking for. And we'll click install now. And it gives us a warning that everything is going to be overwritten, and that's fine, so we'll click continue. Now it's going to try and guess the time zone, so if the time zone is correct, then just click continue. If it's not, then you're going to want to select where your time zone is, where you happen to be. Now it's going to ask you to name your computer, so we will do and we'll make our computer name Docker Demo as well. And the username will have the same, password. And continue. And at this point, you're going to be building the complete operating system for the Uno. And it's getting there. It's installing the system at this point. We've got all of our files copied, but this process can take up to about a half an hour, so we're going to skip ahead again and do some fast forwarding until we've got it more installed. Okay, so that took a long time. So now what we need to do is remove our USB stick from our hub and restart the system. So now the system is rebooted and we can log into the system. So let's log in. So now we're going to skip the online accounts because we don't need to do that. We don't need to skip any patching or anything like that. We don't need to do any of those things, so let's just click done. And at this point we have our Linux industrial computer and our operating system is all completely installed. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to install our Docker engine, and that's all going to take a fairly short amount of time compared to the amount of time it took us to get the operating system installed. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to open up a browser on our Linux box, and we're going to go to the Docker website, and we're going to get our instructions for installing the Docker engine. So let's go back to the industrial PC. And we're going to open our Firefox web browser. So let's go to the Docker website and get these instructions. So now let's look at these instructions. And we don't have any old versions on there, so we don't need to worry about that. So we're going to go down and we're going to set up a repository. So let's go to our terminal window. And we're just going to copy these commands right from the website. add our password. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to download the security package so that we can use security certificates when we download our Docker. Okay, so now we've got our security installed, and now we're going to add the public key for the Docker website. And we're going to grab that from right here. Okay, so now you need to add the Docker repository so that we know where to get the software from. So let's do that. Now it's downloading the Docker software. Okay, so now we have that. Now we're actually ready to install the program. So we're going to first of all update our repository. So okay, now let's install our Docker engine. Okay, so now it looks like we have Docker installed and it should be running. So that's good. Now the next thing we want to do is actually make sure that our Docker is running correctly. So let's go back to our terminal window, and we're going to do a Docker run hello world. What that should do is check and see if Docker has hello world program on the machine that you just built. Obviously it doesn't. Once it finds out that that program isn't on there, it should go to the Docker Hub website, download the hello world program, build it on your system, and then execute it and type out the words hello world. So let's go back to our terminal window, and see if it works. So we found out it wasn't on the system. Now it's connected to Docker, it's run, and now we have the message, hello from Docker. So that message shows that the installation appears to be working correctly. So we have now installed our Linux operating system, and we've installed Docker Engine on our industrial PC. Next thing we want to do is install something called Compose, which is used to build the scripts for the Docker engine. So before we do that, we're going to set Docker to start on boot because we want it to come up on our machine as soon as we start it up. So let's do that. We're going to do okay. So now that we've done that, we have Docker running on our system. And we can go to installing Compose. And to install Compose, we're going to go to this website right here. Okay, so now we have our instructions here for installing Docker on 2004, which is the operating system that we have on ours. And let's see what we need to do here. So we're going to download the file. Now we've downloaded the program. The next thing we need to do is to make it executable. And so we're going to use this command to make it executable. And let's check and see if it is installed. So if we go to version, it should tell us what version we've installed. So okay, so we've got version 1.26.0. So now we've installed our Linux operating system, we've installed our Docker engine, and we've installed Docker Compose. In our next video, we're going to install a script in Docker Compose, so it's going to download MQTT Broker, Node-RED, Grafana, Influx Database, and Postgres, so we can start doing some actual Docker IoT applications on this platform. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.